Okay, Friday morning in the kingdom, and guess what? It's supposed to rain again today. Yes, rain! Oh, it's echoey, yes. So that means we're not sure what we're going to do today. Just look at the water puddles in the kingdom. But this time last year, Drama Book was reminding me that we had 3 thunderstorms with lightning and everything back to back in 24 hours. So that lightning's not good because it starts forest fires, yes, and electrical power outages too. So having a rain that's just continuous, just like unreal. Oh, the dogs are barking. I wonder what that is. All right, so this morning we woke up to +2, but feels like -2. Yes, it's a nice warm day out here. Oh my, they're really barking. All right, so on the yo-yo scale, +36, but feels like +28. We have no vehicles or any equipment that old. Yes, 37 is where it all starts for us. All right, let's scroll this way quickly to see maybe somebody's coming into the kingdom for my autograph. Yes, and that's the funny thing is we drove those loaders to Lac Brochet. Nobody cared. Nobody's done a story on us. Nobody's done anything. Unreal. Nobody cares. So we risked it all. Well, it was a boring trip, but we did it. But nobody cares. That's the story of my life. All right. Also, too, the film, the convoy film, is based on June 7th, not June 6th, like the original AM radio song. So it goes, I think, Arizona noon, 7th of June, something like that. All right. So that's where you got to pick up these little details. All right. I don't see anybody over there. I don't know where the ravens are. Jack and his family had the whole clan over. There was lots of ravens in the yard yesterday. Unreal. Okay, so the sun was trying over here somewhere to come out. That's in the north. Yes, it's getting farther and farther north. Yes, welcome to this. It'll be the summer solstice. June 21st supposed to be the longest days, which is lies. It's about July 1st to the 4th to me. That seems the longest, where you can't sleep because the sun's shining in your window. Yes. All right, let's keep going here. We'll just go nice and slow because I'm getting dizzy. I don't know if it's worthy of starting the wood stove because it's so wet in the shop. You think it's wet outside here, you should see inside the shop, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll find something to do, and I don't know what else we're going to do. Well, we could continue day drinking to celebrate yesterday, 28 years in WHO-ville, and them hating me for 27. Yes, unreal. There we go. Look at all that water. Unreal. Okay, we made the full rotation. We didn't see any autograph seekers coming in the yard, so maybe the dog prematurely was barking. All right, let's get to work. We got things to do, and the boss is an asshole on a Friday. Okay, looks like the rain's going to hold off a bit and then we can get some work done. Yes, so one of the plans we have to do is weld on the tanks, the wood sheds at the back. So over here, we're going to have the 38 GMC out doing some welding. So over here, we're getting organized and getting prepared. These are the ears off the hose shack extension floor. We cut them off with the plasma cutter. Yes, the ProPoint 38 Plus from Princess Auto. But see, I'm smart enough. I double checked. The clevis will not fit there, the pin. So we have to make sure those fit, and then we can nip that off, and then we can weld them on some tanks. Let's go for a walk. Okay, one of the joys of doing scrap metal recycling in the north, I'm the new best friend of the government. Yes, the government. Because these tanks here, all of a sudden they said we're no good. They can't be used for underground or anything like that. So they have to be disposed of. But they have no money to haul them down to Winnipeg because hauling scrap metal, it has to be reduced down in size. So they can't be wide loads, high loads, or anything like that. So I'm the new friend of the government. So here, drop these tanks off here and they're mine. So what we did in the past was make sheds out of them, okay? So that's what we get a kick out of it. If the government, ooh, the door's going to close. Okay, the government says these tanks are rusting out and everything like that underground and they're leaking. Well, we've disposed of a lot of tanks and these tanks are like new inside. I don't know if you can see it, Les Nessman. Ooh, the echo. But these tanks are beautiful. That's why we don't mind accepting them for scrap metal because we can reuse them. A lot of these tanks were cut and laid flat to be repurposed, recycled, and reused. So we laugh at it because here's the joints. This is where they rust and this is where they leak, is the joints. So you have a thick wall pipe going in, you cut the threads in it, now you've reduced the thickness of that. So you can have a thick wall pipe, 20 feet long, and just where the threads are, that's where it's going to leak. So that's what I say, we smile and wave, and I gave one to a fella in town who got a government grant to come here and build aluminum boats, so he needed a tank to put some materials in. So he got carried away going to the hardware store and buying hinges and weld and weld and weld. Well, let's just say when the government money ran out, so did he. So last year, we were throwing wood and everything like that in here. Oh yes, and we finished filling this one. The door closed. It's a little breezy. All right. So here we are here, putting stuff in the shed. This is the toothpick trees for starting fires and everything. And then the staff pointed out that when we need wood or run short, we always have to come up here with the wagon or the trailer or the skidoo toboggan, right? The skidoo toboggan to get the wood. So let's do something differently. Okay, I don't know if you can eye spy with my little eye, but there's the farm wagon in the trees here. And this is the deadfall that we're picking up. Look at it, it's all crisscross and everything for Bambi to, how'd you say, have a hard time running through here. So these tanks have bottoms on them. So the staff suggested, why don't we just pull them up to the shop or to the shop, yeah, when we need the wood. So why double handle everything? So that's where good thinking on her part. So what we'll do at a later date is lift these things up and put some railroad ties under, and then we're going to weld those lift lug things down here right on the tank. So if I try to weld this any other day than when it's wet, I could start a forest fire because we're right close to the wilderness. And we'll do the same on that tank over there. So then when it's time for these things to go to the shop for the wood, we just hook on with a cat and they'll slide nicely down there because they actually have a bottom on it. So that's pretty smart thinking. Okay, back in I think 2015, the government, or the highways department, yeah, the Department of Holidays here, decided they got to get rid of all their petroleum tanks and everything that was obsolete. So somehow this new style tank got on the list. So then they dumped all the tanks off my yard, and I had to deal with them, which wasn't too bad. So this one here, as soon as it arrived, I knew it was a mistake because it's a certified tank, well known, and it's double walled. So here's the government. Everybody has to have double wall tanks, and we can't figure that out. So they have double wall sides, all right, and a single floor. So if it's going to rust, it's going to rust on the floor because that's where it's sitting, right? So I just shake my head. So the first thing we did was cut the door in. We usually can cut the door, how you say, make the slits for the hinges, weld them on. Okay, the hinges right here, all right. And then get the door open, and then we cut the inside. So this worked out pretty good for a quad shed for when I had a brand new one that I never used. And then I decided, no, we need to put the garbage in because the squirrels were getting in the garbage trailer. And we don't haul the garbage to the dump anymore here in WHO-ville because they charge me. So they pay taxes and everything like that. So we dispose of the garbage properly and, how would you say, create heat with it. So that's all we'll say about the situation. But these tanks are beautiful, they're nice, and I just laugh at the government waste of money. But that's the government. If they aren't wasting money or costing the taxpayers money, they're not the government. Okay, back in 1999 or 2000, I think it was, we were drinking professionally. And that guy came from BC and got government money, and that's where that yellow tank is over there, okay? So he was going to build aluminum boats and sell to the lodges up here and, you know, create jobs and income and everything. So we laughed. We were at the Legion, I think it was, drinking with some old timers. And we kind of laughed at the boat he was building and, you know, trying to help the guy out. But it was just an endless cause, pointless cause, just like the government. All right. So we're sitting in the Legion drinking, and I shot my mouth off because I had too much beverage. And I told him I could build a better boat, have a petroleum tank. Well, the challenge was on. That was Friday. So I think it was a long weekend in July, I think it was. So we built a boat. All right. So there's the sides of the petroleum tank right there. We add an extension here in the great lockdowns because it was too short because you can't have, how would you say, have quads and trailers in there. And there's the front of the boat. And this boat was known for its beak. We put a beak on the front of the boat. Yes, a beak. So there it is right there. It's always been a ramp boat, okay? So we used it, putted around with the old timers, had a good time, and then we kind of had a little problem with it. So I'll go to the other side to describe what we did. Okay, it's a good thing I write everything down because I stand to correct it again. So look at this. 2002, we got drunk and we built the tank out of a petroleum, or the boat out of a petroleum tank. And then in 2007, it was sunk in Reindeer Lake and it was in storage till 2013. And then we salvaged it. And then 2020, during the great lockdowns, we did the upgrade, so we got to finish it and stuff like that. But the whole idea is to be able to load the mini hoe, the quad, and the trailers. But the thing is, with the extension on, or putting the extension in the middle here, we got the bow or the front of the boat to kick up because it was flat. Okay, we didn't have enough curvature. All right, so then also too in 2020 we added a cabin, because what's the point of going out in a boat when it has, how would you say, no place to stay warm or out of the weather, or with all the, how would you say, underwater equipment, the side scan sonars, all that stuff, how do you keep that dry and out of the sun? So this is what we were doing in 2020 when the great lockdowns were on. We're using up steel like you wouldn't believe, and we put some, how would you say, funny paint on it to preserve the plywood. So we put some bottoms in it here, or whatever supports to keep it, but there was originally just a flat bottom. We drove stuff in and that was it. So it survived, I don't know how many years it was in storage in Reindeer Lake at the bottom, but we knew where it was in good storage, and it worked out well. So this is what a petroleum tank can give you. And how would you say, we didn't really spend much money on it. It originally had a hole cut in the back here for the outboard motor to hang off, and then we decided we didn't put the motor out the back. That way if we sink it or have problems, we don't sink it again. But this is what you can do when you have more determination and beverage than you do have money. So we even built a trailer. We had to build a trailer to build the boat, because how do you keep it straight? So that was just a pipe and an old hitch and an axle off a Mack truck, and you put the wheels on backwards, and it worked out very well. So it's turned out very well. So that's what we don't mind. Petroleum tank recycling. So we built the ramp boat. Yes. Oh, I remember the good times. So we built it, I think it was 3 days, and we had it in the water and it was looking good. Okay, back in 2012 when we built the new shop that we never finished. Okay, that was a little mistake, just like when I said I do. We used this petroleum tank here, or these tanks from the mine, okay? So this one here is a riveted tank. So being riveted, that means that it came by the cat trains, because they would have to have fuel stored here for a year as they went to get the mine up and going. So this being a riveted tank basically proves that it came in on the cat train. So they would cat train it in empty, toss it on the ground, and then fill it full of fuel for the mine to operate all summer till the next winter. So we built the door. So you weld the hinges on and then you cut it out. So it worked out pretty good. So let's open the door, because this is the way we, how would you say, keep the steel. Oh, hand and eye coordination, Les Nessman. Okay, so this is where you put your recycled steel. So here it is in here, all laid out. But the sad part is, the stuff on the bottom will probably never be used, because every time we add something to the steel shed to reuse, we always take from the top. Just like the hoe shack extension floor there, those ears came off, they were tossed in the storage shed trailer 1, and that's the first thing I grab. I'm not grabbing ears or ears that I cut off 20 years ago that's at the bottom of the pile. So you just shake your head. Everything is reusable, recyclable, and you can always find a purpose for it. Okay, the reason why this tank doesn't have a bottom, we cut it off so it could fit over the train tracks. Yes, the train tracks. Because back in the day, I had items, how would you say, that the railroad reused from mine. So I put my items in here, and then they could use this stuff, okay? So that's why there's no bottom on it, but it is a riveted tank, and it is part of the new shop that never materialized. Okay, back in the late 1990s, the railroad was downsizing, so they didn't have a crew and stuff. So I got involved with keeping their vehicles and their little equipment going for this train that came 3 times a week. So they had problems picking up rail or dropping rail sections or switch parts on the line, okay? So we whipped up this little wagon here or whatever, and they used it, and it was in that shed there that was down at the tracks. So when the railroad closed, we brought everything home, and what do you do with this? So we made a welding deck out of it, or a welding table. So it goes in the shop, and we have the ski bunks here for the lumbards all laid out, and we use the little derrick there for lifting them and flipping them over. So, but that worked good for the railroad guys back in the day. And, you know, this thing even had brakes they could pull, you know, from their high rail vehicle. I think it was a Ford Bronco, but we had it set up pretty good and it worked well, and we were drawing an income because we lived down by the tracks in a gated community outside of WHO-ville. Okay, this fuel tank or petroleum tank came from Dooley Lake, Manitoba over the newly opened Winter Road back in 2004 or 3, I think it was. I'm not sure. I was probably written on this tank. So this load could come down on a trailer as a high load, wide load, everything like that. But then past WHO-ville to head south to the recycling yard, the scrap yard, it has to be reduced down to a legal size load. So dump it off in the King of Obsolete's yard, and everybody's happy. So everybody makes money except for me. So this one here is different. We welded the hinges on, and we have a beam up there. That's the joys of tearing down the mine scrap and stuff like that. You get these beams that were used for overhead, how you say, roller systems. All right, let's open the door and take a peek inside. Okay, one of the things I made sure is these doors are self-locking. So if I go inside, this thing here free floats down, and this is parts from the mine. Somebody made these and punched them all out and never got used. So this is what we did, and make sure there's a little bend in it right there. So once the door's open, this thing hangs down. So then if I go in here drunk and nobody knows I'm in here, I don't lock myself in. I learned, okay? So look at the thickness of this material that they used. You know, I don't have my measuring tape in, I don't have my glasses in, but it's thick. It's more than 1/4 of an inch. All right. So these tanks are beautiful inside. All right. Well made, well constructed. So you put the pallets on the floor to make a floor. And this is the Caterpillar cat shed. All the stuff for Caterpillar cats are in here. The IH stuff has been moved over into a van trailer. Okay. So that's one of the things we have to do if we ever move south or anything like that, or for my estate auction, is move all this stuff out of this tank shed and put it in a van trailer for easy moving. So we keep everything organized and well documented, as you could say. All right, so up here we have the roller mechanism. So back in the day, 30 years ago, those things were gold, and you could get them from the mine, ship them south, and sell them. Now, Princess Auto, everybody sells the overhead roller system. But it works out pretty well. We're very pleased, and we're blessed, as you'd say, for being gifted this stuff. As these companies try and save money, dump stuff off for me, and I make it the best. Make the best of it. These lips need some vodka. Oh, wait, it's lunchtime. All right, I make the best of the situation. My cup of coffee is always half full with vodka. Okay, the King of Obsolete tank shed is a very old tank that was probably cat trained into brochet at the time. It came here probably by the railhead down at the tracks and then offloaded onto a sleigh. So it was skid mounted here. We're not sure if they actually dragged it behind the cat and everything, because these things would be hard to tow, but they might have done that. It's hard to say, but when they're up on the sleigh, they're easier to control. So it was back in 2004. Look at this over here. All right, so it's marked on here when I painted it. Everybody asks how I was able to paint this, and what I did was take a picture of the tank. I just bought the computers in 2003. So then I printed the picture, and then I laid a piece of wax paper over top and figured out the spacing of King of Obsolete. So then you could figure out where the O was going to be. It was a red, and then it faded out, and then I mixed some paint together, and I think the staff last summer used up the paint and repainted it, so it looks good. So we keep adding the flags. We started off with the first one, the flag of exercise, the Canadian flag. We had the American flag gifted to us, and then we added the Alaskan flag, and then we just added more flags on the end, so it makes it look good. Ooh, the wind's getting up. Look at those flags in display. All right, so let's walk over here. So we cut a door in the end of it, and we were storing stuff, how would you say, down at the front gate, because that's when we were a business. And these are hinges for the material, for the cages to go underground or to slide, so that's why they're heavy duty. They're very nice hinges. It's what we grabbed back in 2004, so it looks pretty good. Simple thing, weld the hinges on, cut it out. And you always have to protect your padlock, because a padlock only keeps out an honest thief. So you tuck the padlock up in there, keeps them out. And then when the mine closed, just outside of town here, they had an open pit mine, so they were using this tank to treat water. So when the mine closed, they had no money. So next thing you know, the King of Obsolete gets dragged out there, and I get everything for free. So they took all the good stuff, they left all the ugly stuff for me. So how would you say, on a dark, how would you say, the dark side of the moon on a fall day. This tank arrived at WHO-ville. We just kind of went down the highway with it on the trailer and never said anything. So once again, we're using the hinges, the heavy duty hinges, to make a door, and we actually throw the reusable steel in here. So then I think we got gifted some paint, or found some paint, and it got painted green. That's why it's green, not the other colors. And then we decided we'd toss the plane up here, and it worked out good. A Kingdom follower, YouTube subscriber, suggested using the crane cat to hold the tail up because the weight of the snow will, I would say, hurt the tail. So that worked out pretty good. And then we were gifted this large flag, so it was too big for the King of Obsolete sign, so we put it on here in honor of the ladies of WASP who flew this plane when it was brand new back in the war. All right, let's go have some lunch. Okay, we can't go and have lunch till we talk about these tanks here. So these tanks here are up on sleighs, or going to be up on sleighs. So they're full of sleigh parts. Yes, sleigh parts. So that's the only thing that makes sense. We need some, how would you say, have these things movable. Okay, because if we ever move south or I die at my estate sale, how do we get rid of the sleigh parts and everything like that? So we put the tanks up on sleighs. Okay, so there's a Lombard sleigh with a full tank on the front, and we have sleigh parts in there. And then back here is the Lombard wooden sleigh. Okay, it's kind of rotten, but the thought is we put the tank up and we put all the skinny skis and everything like that parts in it. So we have these ones laid out to have the skis built and up on sleighs too. So that's why they're parked here in this position. And this was the basement for the house for a long time. We had the deep freeze and everything like that, and then we realized, what the hell? So we dragged it away from the house and gave the dogs a bigger pen and stuff like that. So the staff has the deep freeze and all the stuff at her house, because why have electrical power going to this to keep the deep freezer going? So this is why it got here. So we laid everything out last summer or spring. We talked down some ugly buildings and smoothed it out, so this will look out good. So as I'm retired now, I can build ski parts and sleigh parts and then mount these up on. So this will look pretty good, having 4 Lombard all steel sleighs pulling the tanks around, and works out good because the Lombard is a cross pole sleigh, so there's no slop movement back and forth, so the tanks aren't sliding back and forth. Plus it also shows how they got these tanks to the remote communities when out of WHO-ville here back in the day when cat trains ruled the world until the snow melted and those ice road truckers took over. All right, now let's go have some lunch and some beverage. Okay, after lunch in the Kingdom, and I got those ears off of the floor for the hose shock extension laying flat, and I used the plasma cutter to make the hole big enough for the clevis pin or shackle pin to go through, so that way we can move those tanks, wood tanks, or woodshed tanks when there's snow on the ground. All right, let's get the 38 GMC fired up and moved over there so we can do some welding, because there's a slight sprinkle of rain. Perfect time to weld so we don't start a forest fire. Okay, coffee time in the Kingdom. The 41 Chevy, the 48 sedan delivery, and the 38 GMC, the service truck for the Kingdom. We're all, how would you say it, the pink house when I grew up back in the early 80s, I guess you'd say. Well, the pink house is where we lived from 1974 on. The 38 GMC came in 1977. The 48 sedan delivery was 1974, and the 41 Chevy was the early 80s. I think 79, 80 is when it arrived. Okay. All right, so let's go over here. We did some welding, and now we're on Firewatch. So that means we pull up the lawn chair and drink some beer. All right, so we got the cords all strung out. It's working actually pretty nice as we walk and talk. All right, so we lucked out with having grounds cleaned off because we plasma cutted these tanks or trimmed them up last fall. So they had a good place to put the ground wire on. So the welder worked out pretty good. We have everything going. So over here on the other side is where I put the tow hook. So we'll put these tanks up on railroad ties, and then we can hook on in the winter and spin them around and haul the firewood down. Also too, when I did that one, I was very careful because we have wood inside, and I sat on my little plywood because the ground's wet and it was spitting rain when I was doing the welding. Okay, with the yellow tank here, The toothpick trees were tossed on the ground, so they were, or on the bottom of the tank. They're all crisscross, so I'm hoping they weren't touching the back of the tank where I welded, and I made sure not to put too much heat on the tank or whatever, so I didn't weld and weld consecutively. I welded, had a drink, and then welded some more to keep it, how I'd say, cool. Plus, I threw 5-gallon pails of water down the back in hopes there is no fire. I'll monitor the situation to make sure there's no smoking or anything like smoldering or smoke or everything, but I'm hoping the gods are in my favor, because these are actually kind of still alive trees or whatever. They're not, how would you say, kindling and ready to light up. But this would be a different story if it had been hot for a couple of months and this wood was in here baking itself dry. Then we'd have a little problem. But that's why we chose to weld in the rain, and then we can enjoy beverage while we sit here on Firewatch.
Friday morning in WHO-ville, and it's just after 9 a.m. and I'm getting ready for work. As you can see, it has stopped raining, but it's still pretty cloudy out there. Now it's time to head inside, let the dogs out, and make breakfast. Almost 10 a.m. and I'm just getting ready to head to work now. The sun was peeking out behind the clouds for a few minutes, then it went away again. It's supposed to rain some more, so let's head inside, let the dogs back in, and get to work. 1 p.m. and I just made it home for lunch, having a late lunch because I had to put out a bunch of stock and stuff. So let's head inside, let the dogs out, make something to eat. 2 p.m. and I'm just getting ready to head back to work. I had leftovers from last night. Not sure what I'll be doing this afternoon. I have a bunch of watermelon and pineapple I have to use up, so maybe I'll do something with that. So let's head inside, let the dogs back in, and get to work. Just after 6 p.m. and I made home from work. It was a pretty good afternoon. I got a bunch of sandwiches made and salads put out, and as you can see, there was some stuff on sale, so this will be my supper tonight. And I also have some for my dad, so let's get the quad out and head on over to the kingdom. 6:30 and I just got to the kingdom and dropped all my dad's stuff off. We're not doing anything today because, as you can see, it is raining. It was pouring when I was coming to the kingdom, and of course when I got here it stopped. Now it's time to head on back into WHO-ville and do the weather. Almost 7 p.m. and I made home from the kingdom and put the quad away. This is the temperature we're sitting at today. It's 8 degrees Celsius, which is 46 degrees Fahrenheit. We even have the feels like on the bottom. It's been pretty nice out today other than the on and off rain. Now it's time to head inside, let the dogs out, make supper, and end my day.
Okay, a quick video from Sir Rodney last night at the football game in Winnipeg. Yes, it was a sold-out crowd. He had fun, so the volume's a little wonky on it. He needs to get himself a Lily Tomlin mic. The only sports I'm into is in the bedroom with the ladies.
What's up, Kingdom followers? Sir Rodney, live from Princess Auto Stadium. Winnipeg Blue Bombers, home opener right now. It is halftime. We're currently losing, but we're going to come back. There's lots of time left. Look at this beautiful stadium. And I want to introduce you to Blue Bombers' biggest fans in the go. Look at these crazy guys. There you go. Oh. I know all you Americans love your NFL football, but you got to check out the CFL. Go on the Google, check out Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the CFL, and we'll talk to y'all later.
Okay, 5 o'clock in the kingdom and it's a drizzly rain, so we've had enough. We're still watching for fires in that shed there, the wood shed. It'd be a shame to burn the wood after we put it all in there. Oh well. All right, let's go walk the dogs, drink some beer, make a video. Unreal, the rain. Day number 6 or 7? I don't know. I'm confused. All right, let's have another drink. All right, so walk the dogs, drink some beer, make a video, and we'll talk to you later.